Hello everyone, Derek Johnson with Tatango.com. I know it's Friday, I know everybody's trying to get out of the office, but I want to do a quick video to alert you of Verizon's new change for SMS long codes, just so you can start thinking about it. It will take place and happen on April 1st, 2019. So first off, I'm going to link in the comments below to a LinkedIn article that I wrote. And the article is essentially my internal notes, the notes I've been collecting over the last week regarding this topic. I've been talking to a lot of people and getting their feedback, understanding kind of what's going on, reading between the lines. So check out my notes. I'm going to link them below. And feel free to comment there if you have any questions or you think differently about something. I'd love to hear from you. So first off, this entire video has nothing to do with SMS short codes. Those are those 5 to 6 digit phone numbers. If you have an SMS short code, don't worry, nothing's changing. Just keep doing what you're doing. You don't even need to watch the rest of this video. If you have an SMS long code, these are the people that are being affected. So I'm going to read from my notes and kind of elaborate on a few of the things here. So again, notes are linked below and they're on LinkedIn. So number one, 10DLC stands for 10-digit long code. It's a 10-digit phone number. Now, there are two types of traffic in messaging. One is P2P, person to person. So if I text you right now on my phone and you text me back or we text back and forth, that's P2P, person to person. Then there's A2P, application to person. This would be like if Uber texts you and says, hey, your car's there, or you get a mass text message from your favorite brand. That would be an application to a person. That's the primary two kinds of different messaging applications that there are out there. So just to kind of clear, so everybody's on the same page there. P2P, person to person, A2P, application to person. So I'm reading off my notes here, so be sure to click on that link below. Number two, in the United States, 10 DLC numbers, so 10-digit long code, again, just like a regular phone number that you can send SMS from, were built exclusively for P2P messaging. So when the carriers came up with just regular phone numbers, they assumed and they built the system for P2P messaging. Me messaging you, that's why it's P2P. So that's what 10-digit long codes were built for. On the other hand, short codes, 5 to 6 digit phone numbers, those were built for A2P. And you can imagine A2P, there's much more risk of spam, so you have to go through a vetting process. They're much more expensive. A2P is business messaging essentially, so they're going to charge a little bit more for it. There's a big difference. P2P is supposed to be on long codes. A2P is supposed to be on short codes. That's the way the industry developed this whole kind of ecosystem. That's number two. Number three, just to kind of drive it home because I know there is some confusion here, the wireless carriers do not allow A2P, application to person, messaging traffic on long codes. This confuses a lot of people because I know a lot of you that are watching this video are like, well, I'm using a long code to send A2P messages. Well, that's part of the problem. It was never built for this. So there's a lot of implications, like the fact that Verizon is not really getting any revenue from you using their network and essentially building your business off of their network for free. That's part of the issue, which I'll explain a little bit further down here. So that's the whole issue right here, is that A2P traffic is supposed to be on short codes, but it is also happening on long codes, and Verizon is essentially saying, whoa, we're going to fix this issue, and now is the time, April 1st, to fix it. Okay, so number four, it was originally thought that Verizon would move to their commercial 10 DLC product in February. There was some kind of rumors about this. We heard some announcements, but it looks like now it's going to be April 1st, 2019. So just mark that on your calendar. This is when this whole thing starts. So number five from my notes, again, linked below, from my discussions with SMS aggregators, they're taking the position, and I haven't talked to every single aggregator, but the majority of aggregators that I've talked to, they're taking the position that any long code traffic, so any SMS long code traffic will and is being designated as A2P. Now, who knows what the aggregators will do Maybe you can petition them after April 1st and move some traffic if it is technically P2P, person to person, back, to P2P traffic. But at this point, the aggregators are saying, we send, 1 billion messages through our platform. I'm talking as the aggregator, and on a long code. And right now, essentially, we're kind of sending them as P2P messages, even though they're A2P. We're kind of putting a hard line in the sand and saying April 1st, all of those messages will be classified as A2P, A2P. Number 6 here. I'm getting a lot of questions on like, wait, if I'm sending it on a P2P network and then they're migrating me to an A2P network, will I have to get a new phone number for this? A new 10-digit phone number, one that is approved for A2P messaging? No. You will use the exact same phone number. Essentially, the aggregators, when you send the message to them, instead of sending it down this route, they're essentially sending it down this route or flagging it as A2P, not P2P. So pretty easy. That's the good news about this, is you don't have to get a brand new phone number. Number 7 in my notes here. This one's the important one, because Verizon has essentially said, and this is going to, I think, roll out to all of the wireless carriers in the United States. This is the issue, is most brands that are using an SMS long code are not really paying Verizon. They're paying their aggregator, but they're not paying Verizon to use their network. Now, I know a lot of people in technology that think, well, Verizon, like, why should they get paid? Well, they built out a huge infrastructure. They have, to deal with their customers, the spam issues from their customers. They own the network. You as a brand are on their network. So they want to charge you for that, especially if you as a brand are using their network to advertise your products and essentially make revenue, from their customers. And I know they're your customers, but they're also Verizon's customers. And from Verizon's perspective, they're really just Verizon's customers. So they're saying, if you're going to be sending A2P, which is usually kind of like business messaging traffic, you're going to now pay Verizon to use their network. Makes sense, okay? And this is in a lot of countries outside of the United States, this already happens. In short code messaging, this already happens. Essentially what was happening is everybody was using the P2P kind of channel for long codes to really not pay Verizon. So now they're saying, we're closing off that loophole, you're now gonna pay Verizon. So what this fee is, it's 0.0025 per SMS. So 0.0025, to kind of make it a little easier to understand, it's 2.5 tenths of a penny. So it's not a penny, it's way less than a penny. So it's not a crazy amount, but it is still an additional fee that will be charged. Now, this is the exact same fee that you're charged if you send a short code message to Verizon customers. So I think what you're gonna see in the future is essentially the A2P long code messaging prices will essentially match. And again, I'm talking about the carrier connection fee or the termination fee, not what you're paying your aggregator. It will essentially match what SMS short codes are charging right now, or what we are being charged to send an SMS short code message. Okay, I did a little breakdown, which is interesting on number 8 here. If you're sending 500 messages a month, this really shouldn't impact you because it's like 0.2 of a penny times 500 messages. I doubt that's going to break your bank. I think this is going to be really have a huge impact on the companies that are sending billions, hundreds of millions of messages. Some examples are like Remind.com. It was reported they send 1.6 billion messages to Verizon customers. That's a lot. So they're essentially now paying, if you times the 0.0025 per message times the 1.6 billion SMS messages, they would be paying, $4 million in additional fees to send their messages. So just to kind of put it in perspective, if you're sending 500 messages, not an issue. If you're sending a lot of messages, like 1 billion, it could be a lot of money, millions of dollars that you're gonna pay Verizon. Now, Verizon can definitely argue, hey, you're sending 1.6 billion messages on my network. I'm talking as I'm Verizon. You got to pay for that. That's taking up, bandwidth. That's taking up resources from our support team. So that makes sense. I understand where they're coming from. And again, short codes, we have the exact same fees. Now, I think this is going to freak out a lot of people because SMS long code messaging is very, very cheap. We're talking sometimes 1/100th of a penny to send an SMS long code message. That's how much you're paying the aggregator. So if now you're paying the aggregator, let's say 1/100th of a penny, and you're paying Verizon 2/10ths of a penny, which is way more than you're paying the aggregator, on a percentage basis, the increase could be significant. I did some calculations for a company like Remind.com. It's a 1,100% increase in cost because how little they're paying for the SMS long code traffic to their aggregator, and how the margin or the delta between that and what Verizon is now going to charge for their termination fee. So interesting kind of math. You can look at it, number 8 on my notes here. This one's an interesting one because every time the carrier comes out with their carrier pass-through fee, that's what I call it. A lot of people talk about it that way. They ask, well, who pays this? Number one, it's not the Verizon customer. So if I'm Uber and I'm sending alerts that your car is available, all Uber customers are not being charged 2.5 of a cent for every message they receive. This is going the other way, and it's going to the brand. So Uber would be paying to send these messages. Now, it's very confusing, I think, in our industry because Uber is actually not the one that's sending the message to Verizon. The person that's sending it to Verizon is an SMS aggregator. Then the SMS aggregator may work with an SMS platform. Then the SMS platform may work with Uber. Well, they call it a carrier pass-through fee because none of the people in the middle want to touch that fee or pay that fee. So essentially everybody from the aggregator to the platform, then to the client, passes it on, usually with no markup. So you're not like getting, charged more. They'll pass it on to each kind of step, and essentially it lands at the very, very end at Uber's doorstep, and they're the one that has to pay the carrier pass-through fee. That's why it's called a carrier pass-through fee. I don't think the carriers see it as a carrier pass-through fee. I think they go, hey, aggregator, you owe us, and then the aggregator came up with it. Let's call it a carrier pass-through fee so that it makes more sense that we can just pass this fee through to the client. So that's number 9. Number 10 is an interesting one. I think this one is going to be hotly debated. We don't have much info about it yet, so I think that's why there's going to be a lot of debate about it. Is now that the 2 traffic sources for long code messaging from a 10-digit phone number have been split up. You have P2P, which is pretty good traffic. It's me texting people. I doubt they're really going to have to monitor that much unless people are like abusing it and they're saying it's P2P and it's really A2P, but I don't think that's going to happen as much anymore. What I think is going to happen is now companies like Verizon and all the other wireless carriers, once they roll this out, they now have sectioned off all of the A to P traffic. And now I've heard they're going to start running algorithms. They're going to start really looking into this traffic. They're going to throttle this traffic. They're going to block some of this traffic, the bad traffic, filter this traffic. There's going to be all these different sorts of things that are running to essentially protect Verizon customers from receiving spam or messages they didn't want or they don't want. This is going to be the hotly debated topic. I haven't seen much about it yet, and I don't even know if actually the carriers will tell us much, because if they tell us what they're blocking and why they're blocking, then the spammers will learn and they'll do something else. Kind of how like Google with Gmail, they don't give much info because they're protecting the Gmail customer from spam. And then the spammers try to figure it out and try to work around those things. So that's going to be the interesting part is, number one, how much filtering, and then number 2 is how aggressive they will be on that filtering on the A to P long code messaging. Then that comes to the fact, okay, what if your messages get flagged, filtered, blocked on A to P, but maybe your customers, they opted in, so why are we getting filtered or blocked by Verizon or by another wireless carrier. Well, that still is an unknown as well. It seems like the majority of people I've talked to, you're going to have to go to your SMS aggregator and you're going to have to explain your case, essentially saying, hey guys, this is legit traffic. Then the SMS aggregator will have to go to each wireless carrier, in this case, first Verizon, and say, hey guys, this is legit traffic. Verizon will have to vet it and essentially then flag your phone number or flag your messaging as okay traffic so that they don't filter or block it in the future. Again, don't have much info, but I guarantee there'll be some kind of process in place. I just don't think we know what that process is yet. I'm pretty sure Verizon and the carriers know, but I don't think they've communicated to most people in our industry. So that's kind of how things are going to happen. It seems like from the amount of people that I'm talking to and kind of the consensus is that April 1st, there's going to be a lot of filtering, blocking of A2P traffic, just because I think there's a lot of bad actors that are using SMS long codes right now. There are a lot of good ones too, but there's a lot of bad ones. And I think most likely the carriers are going to really put their thumb on that filter and press down, block a lot of traffic, see what happens, and then kind of release it. So I do think there is going to be a lot of blocked A2P SMS long code traffic starting April 1st. But I think, once they kind of get the levers in place, it might, be a little less worse as time goes on. Again, who knows? I'm just making kind of assumptions and trying to see kind of what will happen in the future. Again, April 1st is when this is going to happen. Okay, number 11, we're almost done. Sorry for the long video. Actually, 11 covers what happens if you get your messages blocked on a long code that go to your aggregator. Number 12 is, this one's interesting. Okay, number 12, this one I think everybody's kind of on the same page on, is Verizon is going to be the first one that rolls out this fee, the termination fee, but it's pretty understood in our industry that all other carriers are going to roll out the same fees. Now, it won't be the exact same fee as Verizon. It'll be their own fee. I'm thinking most likely it's going to be exactly the same fee that each carrier is charging for short code termination. So you can expect by the end of this year, every message that you send to every wireless carrier in the United States will have some kind of termination fee included on top of the cost that you're paying your SMS aggregator. That I think is pretty understandable. The people that I've talked to that are close to the wireless carriers, they would have rolled this out, months or years ago. It just takes a lot of time. They're huge organizations, billing, legal, and I think Verizon has just come out first. But I know all the other the companies, the wireless companies, have plans in place. They're just waiting to kind of flush those plans out and get it deployed. Again, you're talking hundreds of billions of messages. So this is not something that you can just flick on one day just because one person thought of the idea. This has been something they've been thinking about for years. It just takes a long time in some of these big companies. So that's it. That's the end of the video. I'll let you get back to your Friday. Again, this is happening just on Verizon, April 1st, 2019. I do see every other wireless carrier kind of following suit. I don't know any timeline yet for those, but I would say for them, I think it's as soon as possible they're going to do it, but they're big companies, so it takes a lot of time. Again, look in the comments below, whether on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and click on the link, read my notes, and then comment below if you've heard anything different, if you have any questions. Again, this only impacts SMS long codes, those 10-digit phone numbers, not short codes. If you're on a short code, you're good. Just keep doing what you're doing. Again, my name is Derek Johnson with Tatango.com. Have a great Friday, everyone, and we'll talk soon.